James Harrison. It's Tip Tuesday. We're going to take the next few weeks on Tip Tuesday and do some stuff that is geared toward helping young students who are part of high school, junior high, possibly even college jazz bands that need help interpreting or understanding jazz charts. Okay, so obviously I could do an entire hour-and-a-half video or something like that. I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is try to give you a few quick tips. And the first thing is that to understand, especially the younger you are in the junior high jazz bands and some of the high school jazz bands, the chart is nothing more than a roadmap. That says start here, end here, and here's a few detours along the way with repeats and coda signs and stuff like that, and we'll get to that. That should be part of any reading that you're doing in school, be it jazz band or not, understanding that. The difference is when you play a regular piece in band, you're reading exactly what's on the page. When you play a concert piece or something like that, or a symphonic piece, you're going to do that. Every other member of the jazz band, wind section, not necessarily the rhythm section, plays what's on the page when they have a jazz chart. However, the rhythm section, especially the drummer, oftentimes it's a roadmap. You don't play what's on the page. It's a guideline. It's not a hard set rule. Again, especially when you're young, if you played exactly what was on the page, it would often sound very bad or somewhat inappropriate maybe. It would make you sound like you're not sure of what you're doing. And what you want to play is with a lot of confidence. So the number one thing I think is that when you're learning jazz and jazz big band and you get a chart, seek it out and try to listen to that chart. Just like you listen to your favorite rock songs, you know, pop songs, hip hop songs, country songs, whatever. Listen to it with the same intent that you're trying to learn a rock beat with. And when you know where that tune's going, you're going to have a better idea of driving that bus full of band members where the chart's going. You're leading instead of following. As a drummer, you are leading. You're setting that foundation for everybody else to play as they're looking at the page. And you need to be, you can look at that page, but what's important is having that band follow you. You don't need to be glued to that because there's so little information there. Okay, so that's step number one. Just listen to jazz. The best thing you can do is use your ears and do that. There's nothing about feel that is written on a piece of paper. And so much about jazz comes from feel, and it comes from listening. So that's the number one thing. Okay? There's all kinds of quick tips. Another one I'm going to give you is, and this is important, as you're reading or as you're following along, you'll often see nothing more than slash marks, and it'll say play time. That just means typically it might say swing. You're going to play a basic jazz pattern. You can do 4 on the floor on the bass drum if you want to. Sometimes you can do it during the big sections and leave it out on the solo sections and stuff like that. That's up to you and your control of the bass drum. But that's all that means. Slash, slash, slash. The style of the tune. It could say swing, funk, rock, whatever it is you're playing a groove. That's all that slash means. Usually 4 of them would mean 4 beats to a measure. And you might see something like it might say slash, slash, slash 15 more. You're playing 16 bars of time if that's what the case is. And it's that much. Everybody else has got all this stuff. You've got that. So you have to really use your ears and think about the things you've listened to and try to throw that out there and play time. Even if you're early on, playing time is the best thing you can do. And as you hear the band playing the chart, you're going to start to hear how it goes and come up with ideas of what works. Okay? And then we have all kinds of things about filling and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you a couple of different things. We're not going to get into fills today or anything. We're going to get into a couple of terms and we're going to move on. So time is one of them, and it could be this. Okay, it's not this. That's not time. Time is generated from the cymbal and the hi-hat. That is better than this when it comes to keeping time. That part will come in later when what they call a shout chorus. If you ever see the term shout chorus, That's where they need a backbeat, like you would in rock. That's where it's okay to. And to really lay it in there, and that's on a shout chorus, okay? So a shout chorus does have the 4 on the floor, sometimes 1 and 3, more times 2 and 4, depends on what the bass player is doing, and often a 2 and 4 backbeat, sometimes even with crashes, okay, with a jazz ride. Another thing you need to understand, sometimes people say, well, what are those little notes that are written above the staff? Okay, that is called a section figure. A section meaning it could be the saxes, it could be the trumpets, it could be the trombones. Some part of the band is playing that part that's written above the staff. Okay? So in a section figure, you can outline that figure, but you don't need to stop playing time. You don't need to outline it, but it's just giving you the fact that it's there. And if it's the saxophones, for instance, you wouldn't want to be playing something very heavy against it anyway. So if you're going along and you see a thing and it has bop, 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 you're like one, and it might be like a staccato, a dot above it to give you, and it might be a trumpet, it might say TR, or something like that, or that might be trombone, it might be, TP for trumpet or something. So you don't have to break the time. If you're playing time, outline that figure in the time. You don't break the time. Okay? That's a section figure. Anything written above the staff on the jazz chart, the normal music staff, is the section figure. Anything written inside that staff that you have, your normal drum staff notation, if it's a figure and like all the time stops and they just write something, let's take the same lick. Bop, bop, bop. Then it is actually an ensemble figure. An ensemble figure is written in the staff, a section figure above the staff. That's something you really need to know. Section figure above the staff, ensemble figure in the staff. And then if it's an entire band hitting something, and it may not be staccato, it might be bop, 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 with a long note. And you can punch around that and play around that. You can break up the time. Does not have to continue through it. You can do fills. If they're short, and then a long one, you can do a fill. That's up to you and what's going to work with the band. Okay? Ensemble figure, you can break the time up. You don't lose time, but you break the time up, and you can punch or kick or fill around that lick, and that's an ensemble figure. The whole band is playing it. The section figure is above the staff, and you don't break the time up. You just outline that figure. If it's a series of a lot of notes, you don't have to play every note. That'll be in another lesson. So today, just quickly, a road map is what a jazz chart is for the drummer, oftentimes for the bass player and piano player too, sometimes the guitar player as well. They don't give you all the information like they give the rest of the band members. So the jazz chart is like a road map. You start here, you end here, you read that map. You don't have to play everything that's written because it's usually not giving you enough information anyway. It's really more of an interpretation thing for the drummer. And you need to know the basics of reading, time signature changes, the codas, the repeats, anything like that might come up, okay? Also, a little tip is if you listen to the rhythm section, the bass player and the piano player or the guitar player, and understand the chord structure or the form of the tune, you don't have to count as much to know that, oh, it's 8 bars and it goes back. You can hear it changing with the chords, okay? Also, if you look for double bars, that will sometimes give you a cue as to where the phrase is. So we have that. We have the section figures, little figures written above the staff that somebody in the band is playing. You don't break time for it, but you can outline it. The ensemble figure is in the staff. You can break time. You can do fills or kicks to support that Okay, ensemble figure in the staff, section figure above the staff. Okay, and then, you know, I guess we'll get into some of the fills and the way to kick some of those things in a different one, because I don't want this to go too long. So today's start is listen to jazz as much as possible. If you know you got a chart, go listen to a few different versions of that chart and get an idea of how that thing goes. You don't have to copy every lick you hear, but it is good to hear other people's interpretations sometimes. So, and then have the chart necessary so you don't get lost, but you don't need to be glued to the page. Understand how the phrasings work. Play time. Play time. Understand that slashes mean time. And again, one of the big things is an ensemble figure in the staff, a section figure above the staff. We'll keep breaking this down in the next few weeks and give you more ideas about how to interpret some of the jazz charts. I hope that helps.